It all started on a regular Thursday morning when David Walker, a 52-year-old architect from Austin, Texas, walked into a local coffee shop, not realizing his quiet presence had started to turn heads. Clad in a simple button-down shirt and dark jeans, David had no clue that his salt-and-pepper hair, confident walk, and calm demeanor had already made an impression on more than one woman in the room. David didn't think of himself as especially good-looking. He was divorced, single, and often too caught up in his work to focus on anything outside his architectural firm. But over the last year, he had started noticing subtle changes in how younger women reacted to him. It wasn't blatant flirtation, more like a respectful admiration, an extra-long glance, or a smile that lingered just a second too long. At first, David chalked it up to coincidence, or maybe he just reminded them of someone they trusted. But after a conversation with his younger friend Nate, who was 30 and in awe of how many women found David intriguing, he began to question what was really going on. "You don't even realize it, man," Nate laughed over lunch one day. "You've got the older man thing going. Women eat that up. You don't need abs when you've got presence." David smirked. "Presence? What the heck does that even mean?" "It means confidence. Means experience. And yeah, looks too. You've got that rugged, trustworthy energy. A lot of younger women want that more than they want some guy their age still figuring life out." That conversation lingered with David. And slowly, he began observing how people responded to him. Not just women, people in general. At meetings, younger associates looked to him for decisions. At social events, strangers often assumed he was someone important. Even when he walked into a gym, there was a quiet air of respect that seemed to follow him. He began to understand what Nate meant, and started recognizing the signs that maybe, just maybe, he was more attractive than he thought. One of the most subtle, yet undeniable signs was how often younger women initiated conversations with him. Whether it was the barista at the coffee shop or the intern at his office, they often found reasons to strike up small talk. It wasn't just idle chatter. They asked thoughtful questions, laughed a bit too easily at his jokes, and genuinely seemed interested in what he had to say. There was a night at a friend's birthday dinner when he found himself sitting next to Lily, a 28-year-old graphic designer. They hadn't met before, but within minutes of their conversation, she was leaning in, brushing her hair back more often than necessary, and laughing at things he didn't even think were that funny. When she asked for his Instagram at the end of the night and followed up with a message later that week, it hit him. This wasn't just casual friendliness. It was interest. Real interest. Another sign David started noticing was the compliments he received. Not necessarily about his looks directly, but about his style or vibe. Women told him they liked his voice. That he had a calming presence. That he seemed mature in a good way. They mentioned his hands, his cologne, the way he listened. And it wasn't just flattery. It was admiration wrapped in subtlety. At first, he had no idea how to respond to it. He was used to thinking of attraction in youthful terms, tight shirts and chiseled bodies. But this was different. This was layered. It wasn't about what he looked like in a mirror, but about how he carried himself. As time passed, David started becoming more aware of his own value, not in a conceited way, but in a self-assured way. His experiences, his emotional maturity, and even the way he navigated conflict became assets that set him apart. In fact, he began to see how often younger men struggled to connect with women because they lacked the depth that came with age and life experience. A pivotal moment came one evening at a networking event. He was approached by a woman named Olivia, who was in her early 30s and worked in PR. She told him bluntly, "You don't even know how attractive you are, do you?" David laughed, but she didn't. "Seriously," she continued, "you're grounded, sharp, and you look better than most guys my age." Her words stayed with him. It wasn't about vanity, it was about value. Olivia wasn't interested in surface-level attraction. She saw something deeper. Something that only time and wisdom could cultivate. As he spent more time around younger women, David realized another thing. They appreciated his calmness. In a world where everyone was rushing, chasing likes, or dealing with ghosting and dating drama, His presence was refreshing. He didn't play games. He wasn't glued to his phone during a date. He knew how to hold a conversation, how to make someone feel seen. That kind of emotional intelligence was rare, and women noticed. His daughter's friend even commented one afternoon when she and a few others came over for a barbecue. "Mr. Walker, you've got that silver fox thing going," she joked, sipping her iced tea. David raised an eyebrow. "That's a compliment," she assured him. "You've got that timeless vibe. Cool without trying too hard." David wasn't used to that kind of language. But he'd be lying if he said it didn't boost his confidence a little. He began taking more care in how he dressed, not to impress but to feel good about himself. Crisp shirts, tailored jackets, a proper shave or trim when needed. It wasn't about being trendy, it was about being refined. And it made a difference. Over time, David began receiving more attention online too. Whether it was casual comments on LinkedIn or old classmates reconnecting through Facebook, he noticed women, especially younger ones, reacting positively to his photos and posts. He wasn't flexing or showing off, just sharing travel updates, a design he was proud of, or a thoughtful quote. But the engagement was genuine. And then there was Emily. She was 31, a lifestyle blogger he met through a mutual friend at a weekend getaway in Colorado. They spent hours talking by the fire pit the first night, about books, architecture, travel, and life lessons. Emily was bright, independent, and stunningly self-aware. And yet, she kept gravitating toward David. "You remind me of stability," she told him on the second night, as they sipped whiskey under the stars. "Not the boring kind. More like the kind that feels safe and exciting at the same time." They stayed in touch after the trip. At first it was just casual messages, then late-night phone calls, and eventually dates. David was hesitant at first because of the age gap. But Emily wasn't. "I'm not looking for a guy who doesn't know who he is," she said. "I'm looking for someone real. And that's you." Through Emily, David saw firsthand how age didn't have to be a barrier. It could be an advantage, if he embraced it. He realized that being attractive as an older man wasn't about trying to look younger. It was about owning his age, carrying wisdom with humility, and offering presence without pretense. Younger women weren't chasing youth. They were craving depth, dependability, and authenticity. And he had all of that in abundance. In time, David's outlook shifted completely. He stopped questioning if he was attractive and started focusing on being his best self, mentally, emotionally, and physically. He worked out not to impress anyone but because he wanted to feel good. He read more, traveled more, and said yes to opportunities that stretched him. And interestingly enough, the more he focused inward, the more